welcome to another Wolfpack Wargaming. Today I wanted to show off these Kingdom Death models that I've painted up. In the last video I showed them all put together, and since then I've painted them. I am by no means a professional painter, but just at the very best average, if anything. But wanted to show off these models, as a lot of people getting into this game might not be painters themselves, and I wanted to show that you can throw some paint on them and with some basic technique make them look pretty good. From my perspective, I think they came out really well. It was definitely what I was going for. My hope was to make them look like stone figures. This is how they were showed off in the first Kickstarter, and as I mentioned in the last video, I used the tutorial from the professional painter that painted those models from the Kickstarter, and I'll post the link below. If you do like these models and want to try painting these yourself, I would recommend following his steps and getting the same paints that he used. Although I will say that you can kind of cut some steps and still get a pretty good look even if you don't follow his directions to the T. And in fact, that's kind of what I did. I followed most of the instructions and used similar paints, but I found that I got pretty much the look that I wanted without having to do every single step. So the basic way of painting these is you prime the models black, and then if you have an airbrush, it makes it a lot easier. And that's in fact what he recommends. So of course, if you're an average hobbyist, you might not have an airbrush, but you can try to do the same thing by just doing a dry brush over the black primer. But what you're going to do is you're going to essentially create layers and layers of lighter and lighter shades from that black primer. So what I did with the airbrush is I started with the black primed model and then airbrushed over the black with a dark kind of gray charcoal color. And then from that color, I'd add white to it, or sort of a paler color, to lighten up the paint. And then I would do another layer kind of spraying down atop the model. So you're essentially creating sort of a shade going from the bottom all the way to the top with lighter and lighter colors. And then finally at the very top, you're almost doing a white color. So I'm showing you some photos of some of these steps, and you can kind of see from them going from a black primer to more of a charcoal gray to then even later on more of a white at the top. So you can kind of see it's bringing out more and more details as you're shading up. Like I said, you can do this with an airbrush really easily and really quickly, but if you don't have an airbrush, you can try to get the same effect by just dry brushing these kind of layers going from the base up. It's going to take more time and a lot more work, and it might not look quite as good, but you still can try to go for the same effect. I used to do this when I did not have an airbrush. So after you get it all shaded up, what you're going to do next is you're going to wash it, and a wash is like an ink. It's a diluted paint, and he recommends you get a few different washes and kind of combine them together, essentially sort of a black wash with a brown and a blue, and you kind of mix these colors, these inks together, and you do 50-50 of the wash with water, so it's really diluted. And then you wash the model, so you take this combination of colors and you generously brush it on so it coats the whole model. And when you put a wash on like this, you'll see that it immediately just brings out all the detail in the model. It goes into the cracks and everything, the crevices. And the only thing you want to be mindful of here is that you don't want it to pool too much, so make sure you're using that brush to kind of push the wash around where you want it to go. And if you do see it pooling up in certain areas, feel free to just get a dry brush and then pick up some of that ink so that it doesn't pool in a certain area, and dry that way. The last thing that I did is I just painted the bases that dark kind of charcoal gray, as you can see. The painter, the way he did it, and if you look at his link, you'll see that he did this really cool sort of marble effect to the floor, to the bases of these models. And so he demonstrates how you can like do a cracking effect to make the statues look like they're cracking. This was a part I skipped, and I did like the way he did it. I didn't think that it would come out the same if I tried to do it. And I also think that painting the bases sort of a darker color made the models pop out a little bit more, so that they weren't the same color as the base. So I opted out of doing that and painted them charcoal gray instead. And then after the bases were painted, the last thing I did is I hit them with a clear matte finish, and that's just to seal in all the color and paint. I do that with all my models to help the model from getting damaged and keep the paint from chipping. And that was pretty much it. So I did that pretty much all in a weekend, painted all these models up, and again, it's not anything fancy, but I think it makes them look good, and it's going to make it pretty cool to have them on the table playing my next game of Kingdom Death Monster. I am hoping to do some other kind of custom things for this game. Of course, you can see my videos for my custom showdown board that I created for this thing. I'm still working on touching it up and hope to do a video once I get that all finalized, but I'm also wanting to do some of the other boards that Kingdom Death comes with. I want to make some custom versions of those, and I've got some things planned, so look for those videos hopefully in the near future. Well, anyways, thanks for watching. Check out some of the pictures here, and feel free to check out the link below if you want to try this tutorial out yourself. I feel like it brought decent results for my own. I'm pretty happy with it and look forward to painting the rest of my Kingdom Death monster models when they come. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please feel free to hit the like button below. And if you want to check out more Wolfpack Wargaming videos, please hit the subscribe.